contracts and also in Solidity and Ink. My previous background was in education. We had a business called Industry Connect and also incubator called MP Studio. We run a global education in the last 10 years. Yeah, so thanks for the invitation and great to meet you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ray. And Alexander, finally.
Hey, everyone. Hope you can hear me well, having some connection issues. I'm Alexander Mitrovic, CEO, founder of Unique Network, the NFT parachain for Kusama and Polkadot. I'm glad to be here again. We have been on a similar panel year and a half ago, was it, with Raul and the guys? And very happy to see that some of the promises we all made back then are getting true and much more, as all of us here have been busy of creating their own tool sets for NFT capabilities of Polkadot, which I believe will be something they are already, but will continue to be far beyond what's available anywhere else. That's what everybody here is working on. We are as a parachain on Kusama Quartz, and we just won a slot for Unique Network to go live in June on Polkadot. Very happy to be here. Very happy to chat with like 345 people who are interested in the topic.
Awesome. Thank you, Alexander, and congratulations on the parachain slot.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's dive right into it. We have this massive topic looming over us, and it sounds like you guys are building the building blocks that is going to enable this thing called the metaverse. So I want to go around the room and just kind of get your definition of what the metaverse is and your vision of your project and how it's enabling that in our technologies. So why don't we just keep the same order of things, Bruno? Followed by Ray, followed by Alexander.
Sure. I like to follow so for me right now, the current status of metaverses is that there is no metaverse. Most of them are multiplayer games that replaced usernames and passwords with reading a balance of an NFT. This NFT can be sold while you're logged into the game, and if the server of the game goes down, the game goes down. So it's not actually a metaverse. None of them are a metaverse. So in my opinion, a metaverse is not just the infrastructure to interact, on which to interact with others. It is also the ability to continuously evolve this interaction and to own your experience. So to me, the metaverse is a decentralized environment of reasonably unique avatars of human beings being able to interact and then own those interactions so that every time you log out with a slightly more valuable NFT. This is kind of at the core of Remark, where we have these upgradable and evolvable NFTs that have non-transferable NFTs inside of them, but also transferable NFTs that you can use to, have wearables and so on. But if you install a skill, an NFT skill into your NFT's NFT brain, into your NFT avatar's NFT brain, it's non-transferable. And that skill can be upgraded, it can be improved, and so your avatar grows with you, with your experiences. The crucial part here is that if that metaverse goes down, everything you've done in that metaverse, in that environment, does not. It goes with you. And so you can take it into another environment which will be able to read from the same information and rebuild your profile, so to speak, to kind of give you a head start in a new environment in a way.
Beautiful. Okay, very cool. And Ray, what is your definition of the metaverse?
That's great, Bruno. My understanding of metaverse is something with an interesting narrative. It can be sci-fi, it can be like a game. However, they need to be supported by some key technology stack, such as blockchain, which has the perpetual storage and protocol supporting the narrative and the experience and the development. Second thing, they need to have NFT, of course. That's why we include NFT to, even for every single permission activities or rights, we use an NFT, so that people own that permission, we own that power and the rights. Third thing, they need to have a visual, so people feel it's closer to, I guess, to what they imagined, because I would call nice and science fiction is a metaverse. However, in modern days, I define metaverse with some visual element there so that people can see that their story become visualized. Yeah, so our narratives around, enable you to launch your story, your sci-fi, supported by the perpetual technology such as the blockchain. That's why we developed UI and also a blockchain network. So yeah.
Thank you, Ray. Finally, last but not least, Alexander.
Okay, so I'm not the person to ask about the vision for a metaverse because we're not building one. We're not working on one. For me, metaverse is a combination of two things. Beside being the term that is this dystopian in its origin and kind of hijacked by corporations, I see it as something that has two components. One is its mission is to enrich digital lives. We all have been spending the last couple of years of our working lives 90% online or 99% online, depending on who you ask. And a lot of our private lives as well. It was forced, but still, I think that a lot of it lingers, and a lot of it will go that direction. So a lot of people are putting a lot of effort into making that online life more experience-like, and that is what, for me, Metaverse is about. It has two components, as I said. One is the visual and sensual components, so virtual reality, augmented reality, and that so on. And that's not what we're working on. So we're not claiming the metaverse kind of work as our goal. And then the second layer of that is infrastructure that enables that to work. And that is building Web3 components to build it out. I think NFTs are just one part of it. So that's what we are focused on. That's how we built the next generation of NFT infrastructure that will be part of metaverse kind of reality. But that's just one piece.
Yeah. So metaverse, it sounds like the ownership part of your interaction with this realm is really important. NFTs enable that for us. And what are some of because you touched upon that dystopian aspect of the metaverse, I think we have a lot of fiction around this thing. We've been thinking about it as people being more logged into the metaverse rather than interacting in the real life. So is that something that you take into account while developing the building blocks for these, or do you think it's a little bit too out of our control what it turns into? So when we're developing the metaverse, is there anything that we should be kind of careful about? And this is kind of an open question. Any of you can take that.
Well, we don't really worry about it too much. We think that delivering technology is much more important than anything else, and making it available for anybody to use for any purpose is kind of the magnum opus of everything. And even when you think about things as in, like, many people scoff at the idea of a metaverse or NFTs in general. It's like, why are you doing this? It's just images, it's just games, whatever. It's not just images, it's not just games. It is maybe to us and right now, and maybe we enjoy it more than normal people. But every little step into the right direction that we do, every little foray into this technology kind of improves this technology. So if we pull off the ability for people to launch an online audio-visual communication between their avatars in a censorship and downtime resistant manner, which we today call a metaverse because it focuses on games too much. But delivering that technology alone has much more potential than being just a game. So every little experiment we do, however trivial it might seem right now, is actually forwarding the technology at least a little bit. And so every little experiment is, maybe it'll get used for nefarious purposes, maybe it'll be dystopian, but ultimately, at least in my ideals, it's about giving technology to everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so my view is that metaverse should bring happiness to people, and especially we are in a lockdown kind of world, from because of many things. I'll give you an example. If we can do this crowdcast in a metaverse, if we just having everybody 350 people having seats there, and then they can express themselves, while we're talking, and then where we can stand on the stage with a giant monitor, giant screen behind our avatars. We can walk around. We can walk closer to the audience and have some interactions. That will just bring a different level of interactions, right? The true metaverse definition that, in my mind, probably answer the first question again, is like something like a Matrix, Ready Player One. However, the technology is just not there yet, but I believe will coming soon. But what we can do now is to ensure ownership, and every single pixel and object become truly owned by the user, and they can own that forever because the protocol offered by decentralized technology. So in terms of dystopian side of things, I believe that people will have their own freedom to create their own stories and narrative. Some people can be very positive, people could be very negative. But the thing is that there's another challenge that I think all the projects need to face, is that to govern the contents and moderate the activities. I guess that's something that is a totally different big topic. But fortunately, blockchain have a staking and also the governance features to allow people to have a certain level of control over their own communities. So I think in general, it really depends how fixed we want to be in the future. It can be dystopian, but it's really up to the user, especially metaverse or social media is a user-based, creator-based economic model. It's up to the user and the community to decide what's their narrative. So that's my view.
Thank you, Ray.
Okay, and following on the queue here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just to follow up on what Bruno was saying, I absolutely agree that our job here is to build out the technology. If you think about it, Web 1 was developed by military and then research facilities. Web 2 was built by big corporations and some open source kind of software consortiums, and Web 3 is being built completely decentralized way. Okay, so that means that every little one of us kind of contributes to the overall movement, but none of us can influence too much of what happens at the end of the day. So our focus is on building the technology that enables things, and we're still at that stage. We will be for the next 10 years, and we are not yet at a place where we should worry about the dystopian future, except for some basic kind of steps of making sure that it stays decentralized, that doesn't benefit the big guys and so on. I think that here, moral compass is a must to have. We shouldn't be exploiting people. And also, another important step along the way is to make sure we don't really overpromise, which is kind of something that is very prevalent in crypto space, where people write a white paper and promise moon, and then kind of take 20 years not to get there. So it's important that we just build things, okay, and stay focused on that.
Yeah, well put. And it sounds like it feels like there's this analogy of the metaverse being kind of this new world, imagining like when the Europeans discovered the Americas, and there was a lot of ideas and immigrants moving there with their ideas and doing kind of like owning land and taking up space to do their build their families and projects and businesses. Is the metaverse kind of like that? Is it a place where we will see there will be an emigration from the physical realm to the digital realm of people moving their ideas, moving their projects and their businesses that might be fully in the metaverse. And to kind of add a context layer to that kind of big open question, we talked about the ownership and the decentralization of the metaverse being really important. How do we make sure that big centralized companies don't take a majority of that new world, and that we keep it decentralized?
Are you asking anybody specific?
Nope, just open end. So if you guys want to keep the queue going, or if you want to break it, it's.
I don't see how you can exactly block big buyers from scooping it up. I mean, it's just a system of economies that you have, but we have some mechanisms in our Skybridge metaverse that kind of prevent this. They're designed to prevent this long term. We have this concept of a world decay. If land lays abandoned for a while, then the entropy of the world will retake it, and the user will be able to rebuy it. Another method that we're exploring pretty heavily and that will be core to our metaverse is harborage attacks. And harborage taxing land is a concept, or any really digital, or I don't know, mainly digital asset, is the idea that this asset is always for sale. And when you have something harborage taxed, you can decide at which price you buy it, but then you have to pay a monthly, weekly, or yearly tax based on that price that you picked. And at any point in time, anybody else can come in and buy that from you at a price higher than you paid. And then they will have to pay the tax based on their price, which means that if you set the price high in order to discourage people from taking it from you, then you will pay higher tax. And if you set it too low, there's a high risk that somebody's going to take it. So this encourages real price discovery of digital real estate, including virtual real estate like land, but also just art in general, or any kind of, maybe you can buy a sword like that in a game and it will just revert ownership when you can't pay the tax. But in general, it serves to speed up the price discovery, the real price discovery of digital assets, and prevents hoarding of these assets like in traditional metaverses, or even in the real world with real estate, where you see giants buying up land and then gentrifying or forcing people out. So in this case, if they buy up a lot of land, they will be directly contributing to the evolution of this ecosystem, because they will be paying a ton of tax into it. So this is kind of a discouraging mechanism for these whales, and should help with balancing the scales a lot.
Sorry, I think there's some background noise. 1 second. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Well,
Ray, go ahead.
all right, that's great. Just following the queue, I guess. So I think make sure that to stay decentralized and with a level for governance, and also around distribution of digital assets. That's another thing that I think it's a project intention to distribute to as many users as possible. For us, as we create a system that in order for people to develop their metaverse, they need to get our in-game currency token called the bits, because we believe that metaverse need to be built by bits and pieces, bits of 1 and 0s. Part of getting the bits, not only you have money, you can get that. You need to have experience. You have other contribution to the network, so that you get a material, so you can craft items and that you can use those bits to develop your world. Which that means if you have such a large amount of land, which you don't have building power or enough bits, it's not going to be very good. So that we encourage more like everyday users to taking the right amount of the digital land and be able to develop it with economic substances. So it's not just the empty 3D assets. It's actually fundamentally supported by ones and zeros in our big country in Metaverse. I think some other things are around is, we could look at, those big guys could be community owners. So we encourage or create incentives or tools for them to actually subdivide their world into smaller pieces and contribute to their banks. That's another thing that we actually building the tool for. And that further encourage actually decentralization, community ownership, because like you mentioned, people go to America, find a new world because there are opportunities, there are interesting stories in people. And we want to do the same, allow people to be able to, mint their own new world, inviting people to join. That's
a very interesting point. Yeah.
Okay, and to finalize the trio kind of answer to that, what Bruno and Ray were talking about are very kind of application-specific things. And we focus, on the other hand, on the infrastructure level things. And what I think that will be the biggest obstacle to centralization, if anything, is interoperability. So you can see that with what has happened in Ethereum, where you have people locked into nation state type of ecosystem, where you start having these kind of outrageously expensive NFTs that become well, they serve a purpose of attracting a lot of people to the whole concept, but at the same time, when you have them locked in, then you start having monopolies and stuff like that, and that is the danger of centralization for me. If you start having interoperable infrastructure in place where you can move your things, move your NFTs from one chain to another, from one game to another, from one metaverse to another, then you will start having very ferocious competition, and that is something where startup worlds can kind of very quickly gain on things and kind of spot opportunities and build things that are getting things done. And so monopolies and dangers of centralization is there when you have the barriers to exit. And we work heavily on interoperability, which will not allow anybody to have that. So we're working on interoperable NFTs first with State Mine and then to other parachains, and then with Ethereum with other chains as well. That is, in my view, the most critical thing we need to nail down in the Polkadot ecosystem and make it an example for everybody else.
Yeah, super important, and that touches upon this point that you can have metaverses that are deployed separately, but what good is it if they don't know about each other? And they need to be able to those NFTs that represent things in these metaverses. They need to be able to interoperate with the other metaverses, and this is at the core of Polkadot, right? Like that was this idea. We have so many blockchain projects, and they're isolated networks. That doesn't necessarily fulfill the vision of Web3 that we have. They need to be able to speak to one another and communicate with one another. And it's exciting to me hearing you guys talking about these ways to think about the metaverse, because it makes me think that it's a great testing ground for testing governance ideas, ownership ideas, and being able to understand and iterate and learn much quicker than in the physical realm. And maybe in a world where we can take what we learn in the metaverse and apply it to the physical realm. I think that's very exciting to me, because we have a lot of these the tax method that you talked about, Bruno. I think this is not a new idea, right? Like it's just very difficult to implement in large scale, though, in the physical realm. So the ability to test it in the metaverse and then see that it works and have some data, and to be able to strengthen the argument to why we should maybe have it more in the physical realm is actually really exciting to me. So then like there's this idea that NFTs are enabling these metaverses because of the ownership portion. I'd like to kind of go around the room and talk about what is going to be some of the important things that NFTs are going to be able to solve that maybe we're not thinking about yet in these metaverses. You guys are all working on NFT technologies in ways that are taking the basic idea of a non-fungible token and adding layers to it that is, programmable NFTs, nested NFTs, interoperable NFTs. So it sounds like to me these NFTs are going to represent a lot of like identity, ownership, and even things that are maybe a little bit less, that are more malleable than that will change more often. So they need to be able to adjust. So tell us a little bit about what you're excited and how your technology will enable NFTs to realize some of these things metaverses are going to enable for us. Bruno.
Okay, so with NFTs right now, so like I said at the beginning, the Metaverse experience right now just uses them as a login method, which is the wrong way of going about it, and it's a lie about the advertised digital scarcity of NFTs, because you can log into as many metaverses as you wish with a single NFT. With our technology, and why we're excited about it, is when you have an avatar that is an NFT, that avatar can have a jacket, that jacket can have a patch inside of it. So it's an NFT inside an NFT inside an NFT. If you sell that avatar, everything goes with it, but also everybody who contributed to these assets gets their fair share of royalties, because we solved the nested royalties problem. So that's a big deal as part of a metaverse and the creator economy in terms of just building assets for metaverses. On the other hand, it also enforces digital scarcity by making it so that you cannot reuse your avatar or NFT across different metaverses at the same time. And this is because if a jacket is in my avatar, that jacket cannot be on any other avatar. If my avatar is in a piece of virtual land, it is literally inside of that NFT, because the virtual land is an NFT. It is literally sent into the land, so the land now owns that avatar. And so my avatar cannot be anywhere else. So this is the true digital scarcity. The other approach that makes true decentralized metaverses possible with this is the multi-resource angle, where an NFT can be multiple things at once. So that if you have a metaverse that is 3D and a metaverse that is 2D, like ours, if you buy a red jacket, which one do you buy for your avatar? A pixelated one, 2D for the 2D metaverse, or a 3D one? Well, in this case, you can buy just one, and that one can have two different resources, two different outputs that depend on the context they're loaded in. So if you load it onto an avatar that is in the 2D metaverse, it just shows the 2D version of the jacket. And if you load it into a 3D one, it just shows the 3D version of the same jacket. And so by doing this, you can actually keep adding utility to your NFTs indefinitely, as it is made compatible with more metaverses, with the multi-metaverse, with other chains, with other projects and collections. It can basically get what we call eternal liquidity, because you can use it forever into the future on even unrelated collections to yours. And this is, I think, the missing piece, where in the current NFT ecosystem, if your NFT gets a good head start with an influencer tweet or something, once that initial hype is over, it's dead. It will just collect dust in your wallet. But if you can keep giving it utility, if I can expand it and give it cross-collection compatibility long into the future, then it will not only stay alive, but it will become more valuable over time as it becomes equipable onto more and more and more things. So this whole Lego concept of NFTs, I think, is very, very important for a truly decentralized experience.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, like being able to nest NFTs on top of the initial account and the avatar that represents the person you are in the NFT is super powerful, and like the implications are great. Thank you. Yeah, Ray, would you like to go next?
Cool. We in the metaverse, that user-created metaverse NFT are the fundamental elements for authoring objects. Our primary goal is to give the initial utility to creators' NFT collections. So, for instance, you can create a collection, Raise Friends 2022, and in your metaverse, you can associate your collection to a certain utility in your world. For example, holders of this collection have a membership in this region, things like that. So we're creating a lot of use cases, allow creators to do that. So this way, the NFT is not just a collectible, but also have initial utilities inside their metaverse. And also of course, we have a quite nice design, the 3D avatars in a 3D format that runs in the browser. From head to bottom, every single thing is an NFT, and people can swap out and change it. However, we don't limit it about the what Bruno mentioned. So we let the user to make a choice what they want to do with those NFTs in terms of the if they're in their world, they can be in one world. We let people to be able to wear that across different worlds, different metaverses on our network. We also have a NFT distribution strategy around if you mint an NFT collection, that's actually an avatar that we support on the network, have a network level of utility. You need to make, for example, 10% to be craftable, so people with the bits be able to find those NFT without buying them. So it's like doing a promotion for your collection. Some other NFT is that, as we have a lot of we call it Metaverse Object, which is more like NFTs with a network utility. So everyone can create their own. We can create your own avatar following our standard, and we have an authoring process for you to make your avatar actually usable, selectable on the network, on the platform level. So yeah, I think a metaverse NFT is great as the fundamentals of the metaverse, because all the objects, everything you see there, including your buildings or your materials, or especially objects, can be in the form of NFT. And our focus is to make NFT useful with the initial utilities.
Thank you, Ray.
Okay, I guess that makes it my turn. I want to say here something that is, advertising, preaching to the converted, I guess. Substrate is unbelievably good technology to do these things, to make the next generation of NFT capabilities and overall metaverse building tools, because it is upgradable easily and customizable to the point where all three of us are working at very similar things from different angles, and we all are building something revolutionary. What we have done and what we are doing is exactly that, coming up with completely new capabilities to build NFTs. So we started with a native NFT palette that natively mints NFTs, and you can mint literally millions of them, and the technology will survive it. It's not smart contract driven, so it's native to the blockchain, so you can really make it scalable, and there are many other benefits. It's very efficient, energy efficient, so you can really take it a long way. Then for the fun of it, we also mint natively refungible tokens. So we're going to make some exciting kind of things around that, but you can take and divide a valuable NFT into as many pieces as you want and share ownership of them, which is applicable not only in avatar that costs $1 million, but also in real estate or in any kind of shared ownership things. Then we worked a lot. We introduced also the scheduling, which Parity enabled for in general, but we enabled for NFTs, where you can, which you cannot do on most other chains, and it's very useful for a lot of use cases in gaming as well as any other We can make subscription on things. You can make exhibition of things this way, and etc. etc. But then we also work a lot on actually enabling both sides of the equation to grow the overall market, which means on the builder side, we built a lot of tools to interact with the blockchain so that any web developer or game developer can work with it and doesn't have to know Substrate, doesn't have to know Rust, doesn't have to know Solidity to create systems that rely on the database that blockchain is. And then on the other hand, the user side of things, blockchain is heavy for average people. So we work a lot on tools that enable simplification of that experience. And the core of that is the sponsorship palette that enables the app developer to sponsor transaction fees, which is the main obstacle to usage. We help them create other ways of protecting the blockchain from spam, but the key here is to hide the blockchain under the hood, and so that mass audiences of Web2 can join the NFT revolution. And there are going to be many other kind of tools that enable this, fiat gateways and many other ways.
Awesome. Yeah, I think this really brings up a point that if these NFTs are representing things like your metaverse identity, I want to ask two questions, and I'll start with the first one, which is that if your NFT is somehow stolen, does that mean your identity is stolen? What happens when the NFT that represents your avatar is the account is breached and now you don't have access to that NFT? Is there anything we can do to safeguard against these, or is it kind of more on the account management level kind of that needs to be solved? What are your takes on that? Bruno.
Well, we do deal a lot with reputational and identity-based NFTs. There's a particularly interesting experiment going on right now where when you have any kind of democratic voting on the blockchain, it is so tedious and uninteresting for people to vote that nobody really does it, and the turnout rates are historically extremely low. And just recently, somebody from our community built a project that gives everybody who ever voted on a referendum a Remark NFT that is a trophy shelf. And for every vote you cast in a referendum, you get a trophy. And you can put those together and equip these trophies on your shelf. And what this resulted in is people actually building their shelves in a variety of ways, because you can actually get a different NFT based on which vote you choose. So yes or no gives you a different vote. And so now you have people with different shelves. Now, apart from this being a really interesting gamification of voting and dramatically increasing turnout, as was actually proven, it also builds people's reputation. NFT, kind of. It is a visual and NFT-based indicator of your participation in on-chain governance. Now, why is that important? Because you can actually, in a multi-chain environment like Kusama or Polkadot, you can take that NFT over into some sort of protocol like a DeFi app or protocol. And since you now have your built-out reputation in the form of an NFT, all that app, all that protocol has to do is read what you have and grant you a certain bonus based on this. For example, you could get an under-collateralized loan from a DeFi app because you have enough reputation in the ecosystem, whereas somebody without reputation cannot get one. Your reputation is the collateral, which is really cool as a concept to explore in application-specific NFT implementations. But what is actually happening when you lose that NFT? So if somebody steals your address or hacks you or something, generally you are expected to have basic financial hygiene and operational security ability if you want to be your own bank, be your own credential holder, and so on. Even so, hacks happen and people do lose NFTs on a daily basis. And in those cases, the system can have a fail-safe built in, which lets you basically, it's like a kill switch. if you don't interact in a specific way with an NFT in a specific period of time, that NFT becomes inactive. This specific way of interacting can be known only to you. Another way to prevent this is to have a social recovery method where you actually have the ability to propose a reclaim of an NFT, of an identity, and then other holders who have a certain threshold of reputation will vote yes or no on that reclaim proposal. And so if you get enough trust of the general community, then you are considered to be trusted by that community to actually reclaim that profile, reclaim that ID. So there are methods, but they need to be thought of in advance before deploying a system.
Yeah, and there's a lot of game theoretic potentials of that going wrong or being hacked. But yeah, still definitely need to have something in place. And I think, Ray, you disconnected there for a second, so I think you messed up the order, and I'm going to have Alexander kind of go from there.
Wow, Ray is back. Okay. Well, Bruno has given very elaborate answer to this question. I would add to this that I think what Polkadot is doing with experimentation and governance is a very kind of good leading kind of light for us with the social recovery of things. So you mentioned stealing something. Yeah, having that kind of ability to correct wrongs is just in human nature. Okay, we should be idealistic about kind of not your private key, not your kind of NFT and type of a thing, but here we have had examples of hacks in the ecosystem and a decentralized governance stepping in to correct the wrongs, and I think that that should be part of the system. Just like there's one part of the NFT life that is very underdeveloped at the moment, and that is the legal front, which a lot of us are going to roll our eyes when we kind of getting lawyers in the room. But at some point they will become necessary, and we should be just at least aware of making sure that the illegal things on a grand scheme of things are kind of covered well initially. So us wanting to do it or not, but we will kind of have to incorporate some legal knowledge into everything that we're building, because if we do it right, it's going to be worth a lot of money, and a lot of money always means a lot of conflict of interest and so on. So there should be some work done in that direction as well.
Awesome, thank you. I think both of those answers definitely answers the initial question of your potential NFT being hacked, and if your NFT represents your identity on these metaverses, like what are the ways to recover that? So that's something that we definitely have to think about. With the time we have left, I want to combine two of the questions that I think stand out in the questions and answers box, and I'll ask this first to Ray. So with these metaverses being separate right now, is there something that's going to start something like a metaverse singularity going to happen, where we're going to have one digital realm in which we share an experience and use these NFTs? Does that make sense? Do you see this trend going that way at all, or is it a little too early to actually tell? And tacked onto that is the context of like, what is the real value that these metaverses giving us, that a simple web application that uses the NFT platforms, like think about like World of Warcraft that has unique or remark or big country NFTs in it. So what is the real value of these metaverses in our lives? So Ray, I'll start with you.
Sure. Sorry about that. My internet was just reconnected. I jumped back to my desktop. So the first singularity, right? Singularity concept, eventually everything be controlled and managed by AI. I mean,
Ray looks frozen to me.
can you hear me?
I can hear you, Ray. I think Alexander
Okay.
said he
All
couldn't,
right.
but yeah, I think we can
Oh,
keep
good.
going.
Oh, Carol. I think that's more like a sci-fi concept. But if in the future, because now, substrate-based chain or some other DApps, they will have a governance, right? If we know, if hypothetically, if the governors or people who have the governance rights is a machine or a super smart, intelligent robot, that could, result in a singularity future. However, can the AI earn more tokens than human, or possibly yes? So, in that regard, it is possible if a metaverse becomes huge in the future and is governed by token holder anonymously. You know, uh, I think to prevent that, in the substrate-based chain, we have a technical council member that's a real human that from the initial team members. But I don't see it's happening right away. But as I mentioned, if everything is governed decentralizedly and anonymously, we don't know it's a real human or not. If a super AI can take over, we don't even know. We probably think that's the best human ever. Come to your second questions around. Can you remind me the second question? The second half?
Yeah, sure thing. What are the metaverse's real value proposition to our lives, rather than just a simple Web2 app with a blockchain backend?
As I mentioned earlier, my definition of metaverse is about narrative. Everybody have their own story. It's just like nowadays you have different sci-fi movies. You have different type of sci-fi fictions. People use metaverse to express themselves, and they are creators. We build the tools allow people using 3D or voxel system to build anything they like. Of course, comes with the economic cost, and then they can use the metaverse and NFTs and digital assets to express themselves, build their community with the substances rather than a name and something else. And second things, we allow them to share, subdivide their world into different pieces and honor their top fans or community members, so that they can co-build a new thing that present to the world. Of course, if you just got a world and no activities, that's meaningless. Our intention is we've already done the perfect concept to allow people to upload their WebAssembly to customize the world with their code, written in WebAssembly. That can be done in C or even WebScript or Rust, so that people can play games. Either it's player versus player or player versus environment, so that they can take some interactions to a new level, right? In general, I think the valuable part is a creator's creation and a community development. And to be honest, at the moment, people, especially during the pandemic, organizations are looking for new way to engage with their fans. And this metaverse could be a new way for them to do something interesting. So that's my view.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Ray. Ownership is the highlight of that for me, I think, being able to own and create your own spaces for your communities. Bruno, if you'd like to go next.
Yeah, I'm actually going to use this opportunity to close myself out because I have to dash after this, unfortunately. Would love to stay and chat more. But essentially what the value proposition is, it's different for everybody. You can see already the clamoring of the corporations for the advertising money, for the digital real estate of eyes. That to them it's another avenue of advertising. To the people who want to earn on their creations, it's the creator economy. If executed well, it can do really wonders for them. For example, the Fortnite skin economy is absolutely insane. It's insanely large. And if that were to be opened up and made, usable and mintable and creatable by everybody and tradable by everybody in an NFT format that would also be compatible with other games, that would be quite a big deal. Others just need a venue for communications. Others, again, just need a good MMO experience. I personally, I want a game I would like to play, but at the same time, I just want to deliver the technology to see something impressive happen. And I want to, well, I mean, my agenda is killing ERC 721, which is the outdated NFT standard that is active right now. If I can pull that off, I'll be happy. If in the course of that I build something cool for people to use, that is also very, very, very awesome. But in terms of the potential, I guess it's vastly different for anybody. And in fact, I invite you to discover this for yourself by playing with the technology. You can't just speculate about it and expect it to, come to you. You have to try something, see whether or not it works, and then provide enough feedback to make it appealing for that thing that doesn't work to work. Build your own experiences, build your own goals. And I think this is how we end up with really interesting products and really interesting communities. So I would really encourage you to start experimenting. Two avenues which I would like to leave you with, on which to experiment, is I'm going to post the links here in the chat so you can check it out. One is Singular, our marketplace. It allows you to mint these advanced NFTs, multi-resource. It can be multiple things at the same time. And the other is Skybridge, our metaverse, which lets you read about some things. So I invite you to check it out, to give us feedback, and to enter this new frontier with us, so we can see what we can break and make together.
Awesome. Thank you, Bruno.
And with that, I'm going to leave you because I have to dash. I'm very sorry, but thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure. And let's stay in touch, all.
Thank you, Bruno. Alexander.
Okay, lucky third. So in terms of singularity, I hope not. I think that singularity is something that's much bigger than what we are doing. And in terms of, I hope, I wouldn't overestimate the capabilities we have with Polkadot to kind of make everything truly interoperable. It will be interoperable, but with, caveats and kind of limitations and all of that stuff. So we are going to have a lot of metaverses and a lot of projects, a lot of different things. Multi-chain is the future, and a lot of us are working on it. A lot of us, and kind of from all aspects of the crypto world. But it will take time, and it will not be ideal at the end. So I don't expect some kind of singularity. And then in terms of the value of what metaverses bring, I think that right now we are at a stage of very, very early experimentation, R&D. Again, we are just building Web3 here, okay? We are probably in, 1992, 93 in terms of internet, where the technology is. The difference here is that it's not being built in closed kind of labs by military or researchers, or we're not in. It's not being built by big corporations or whatever. It's out in the open, and and even has tokens and has kind of a lot of people investing money in it. But we should be aware that we are still in the very, very early stages of this whole thing. There are a lot of kind of things happening. There are a lot of use cases being done, but they are all child's game in comparison to overall user experience that we need to have, and the impact that it will have. So 10 years from now, we're going to be looking at this just like we are looking now at, if you remember how getting online with America Online was, those kinds of things. Okay, we're there. So right now the focus is on actually playing, experimenting, innovating like crazy, and kind of making new cool things and breaking things and forgetting about the things you've just done, and keep kind of doing something else, something more, something next, because there's so much to be done.
Very cool. Awesome. I really enjoyed this chat with you guys. I think this, as we figure out what Web3 is and as we create the definition for it, reminding everybody that we are still in the early stages and that the metaverse is still being defined as well. Everybody has its own definition. Everybody has its own idea of it. And what's being worked on by these gentlemen and their projects right now is not the metaverse itself, but the building blocks of the metaverses. These are the NFTs that are programmable, that are interoperable, that are used on chain to represent things like identity, like ownership, and these are the kind of the Lego pieces to what the metaverse might be. But first of all, I think it's good to contextualize our where we are, and it's that we're still very early in this world of NFTs and metaverses and blockchains. And Web3, as it tries to figure itself out, I think will be, in the future, an exciting frontier in which there's a lot of room for trying out new things that hasn't worked in the past that, we can apply to our societies. And it's really exciting to get, see that happening, but also to remind ourselves to take it step by step and just create the initial technologies that's going to enable that, which are these, things like Unique Network, Big Country, and Remark, and their NFT implementations that they're working on top of Polkadot, which is an interoperable ecosystem of multiple blockchains that's going to enable them to work together to find that that sweet spot. Okay, awesome. If you two have any last things you'd like to share with the crowd, I want to thank you for your time, and yeah, go ahead and just give your closing statements if you'd like.
Alexandra, you want to go first? Or?
Well, I was just speaking, so I was waiting for you, but okay, sure. The Polkadot ecosystem is might confuse a newcomer because it is so diverse. You've had 3 strong projects here talking about same topic, but talking about it actually as if it's 3 different topics. And actually, there are other players in the ecosystem, a lot of them. Some on parachain level, some on the kind of application, a lot of them in the application level, and so on. And it's going to get even more confusing as we go because the ecosystem continues to attract a lot of new ideas, a lot of innovation, and so on. Don't be confused because just give up understanding it. Put it this way, because Polkadot is ecosystem of a lot of projects building different things, building it differently, and each of us is putting a contribution into overall ecosystem that will tremendously grow. And will hopefully there's a lot of coordination happening behind the scenes. There's a lot of alignments happening behind the scenes that a lot of us are working together on a lot of different things. It will take time for that to show, but we are overall building in a very decentralized fashion what is going to be what already is and will continue to be and continue to develop its lead as the most advanced NFT and metaverse kind of technology out there in the blockchain space and otherwise. So that's at least kind of my belief, my hope, and what we are focusing on. So keep on following everybody because everybody's coming up with a cool new thing, all the time. So thanks for being here. Happy to be here. Happy to talk more if anybody's interesting. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Alexander.
Great. Yeah, I think it's fortunate to be on Polkadot ecosystem. We see so many strong builders and receive grants and launch on Parachain, on Kusama, and Polkadot. It's not it's an easy process. It takes a lot of efforts to secure the talent, to model the business, and create the product. But the good thing is that in the ecosystem, we see, those solid builders. And for us, I want to close my broadcast with a little plan. We are currently opening up the testnet for select user group to test out the initial features, and we will make them more and more open. So I'll put some our Twitter information here in the comments. And then once we stabilize the feature, we launch on Pioneer Network, and I'll start our Polkadot crowd loan. The reason we putting Polkadot crowd on hold is that we tend to want to build more utility in the product so that we can get people to start play around, creating their own space, their bunker, their NFT, their own marketplace, their own nature sci-fi stories on day one. So that we've been focused on building and develop the team. Now creating hired another 28 developers and staff in the last 3 months. And yeah, so follow us and then check out our Twitter and screenshot from the testnet. We have some really cool variables and people can mine, and some world people can, their own space, the space they own, they can create and on the blockchain. So yeah, thanks for inviting us, and it's great to be here and share our ideas and the vision and the project with everyone. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. And with that being said, that'll wrap up the convo. Thanks for all your great questions and your thoughts to the panel. Great. Yeah.